One of the biggest complaints about getting started with Solidity and Ethereum programming is how hard it is to debug. So I'm going to show you how to do some local development and debugging on your own computer using Pragma. So the first thing you'll need to do that you may not have done before is run a local blockchain on your computer. And the reason for this is, one, everything will be free and you'll have a bunch of Ether, and second, everything will be instantaneous. So your development process will go a lot faster. So you can install from npm a tool called ganache-cli, and then you just run it from the command line. And one cool thing is you can run this with a seed phrase, and what that'll do is it'll generate the same private keys and accounts for you every time you run it. And I recommend doing that if you're going to be doing a lot of local development, because then you can reuse the same private key and the same MetaMask account whenever you want to do this. So we'll just run ganache-cli. You just use the S flag to do a seed, and we'll just do maybe tutorial as our seed phrase. And when we run that, we'll get a whole local development, local blockchain running here. So you can see it's running on port 8545. And we can just grab one of these keys and we'll come over to our MetaMask, or sorry, our Pragma, and we can go ahead and import that key. So if we look at our accounts, we can just scroll down, and I have a lot of accounts in here, and click import account, and then just paste that key in. And there we go, the account's in our MetaMask. Now we can switch over to localhost 8545 in MetaMask, because that's where we're running our local blockchain. And as you can see, we have 100 Ether, which is how this will start out every time you run ganache-cli. So now we can get started with like a debugging example. So here I have a simple storage smart contract, and this only does a couple of things. It has an unsigned integer variable called current number, and all it's doing is storing that number on the blockchain in the contract. And then it also has a function called setNumberAsProduct. And this is just kind of a stand-in for a debugging example here. So you can imagine the intended behavior of this function is to set the current number to be the product of two inputs. So this takes in a number x and y, and it sets current number. Here you can see we have a bug. It sets it to x times x, which we'll discover later in our debugging process, but I think you get the intention of that function. And then finally, we have a function called getCurrentNumber, which just returns the current number. Okay, so let's start walking through the example. We can go ahead and deploy this. And the compiling will still take the same amount of time, but once we actually deploy, since we're on localhost, everything should happen almost instantly. So you can see, deploy successful. So let's say we wanted to test out that this is working. We might come in here and go ahead and interact with the contract. If we click get current number, we can see that it starts out as 0. And maybe we want to test out setting it as the product, set number as product of 2 and 3. And since we're on localhost, all this is going very quickly. So that should pretty much be confirmed already. So let's see the result. Get current number, it's 4. So as you can see, our contract has a bug. We might not know why that bug is there, because we tried to set the product as 2 and 3, and we got 4. Okay, so we can come back into our contract here and start trying to figure out what's going on. So let's say that this bug here wasn't immediately obvious, and we wanted to figure out if we were passing the wrong arguments to the function or if the computation was wrong. Just wanted to do some logging like we would usually do in web development or other development. So we can go ahead and create an event called log data with just some generic information in it that we can use to log in the logging tool. So in this case, I create an event called log data that has a string debug message and a number debug number. And I can start putting in some logs here that might be useful to me. So I'll go ahead and put one log where I say first number, that's x, and then I can log second number, that's y, and then maybe at the end I can log that my final result is current number after the computation is done. Okay, so now I've got my code running with some logging here. So we'll compile, and we'll deploy this again locally. And as soon as we sign that transaction, it should be pretty much instant. So now we have a new contract here. So we can jump into Interact and we can start seeing what's up once again. And the cool thing here is we can start getting some side-by-side logging by opening up another tab. So if we bring this up, go into our contracts over here as well, we can bring up the log view in another tab, and we can start doing something pretty cool where we just see our logs pop up instantly on localhost. So I can see my number starts out as 0, as we expected. And again, I'll put in the product of 2 and 3. So when we submit this transaction, it should confirm almost instantly. And over in our logging tab, we'll see, okay, we can click to expand 3 new events. And this is where we'll see our log data. So we can see we got a log first number is 2, a log second number is 3. So it looks like we have the right numbers. And then, oh, final result is 4. That's weird. We weren't expecting that. And then, you know, this might prompt us to go over back to our code and look more carefully. Since I saw that my first number and my second number were correct, but my final result was wrong, the error must be here in the computation step. And then I can see, oh, I was passing the wrong arguments. So I can pass x times y. It might be an extra step to go through and deploy it and see the logs again, and then you know, remove the logs and deploy after that. But it's pretty cool that we can do this instantly. And if we felt confident that we'd remove the bug, we could just remove our logs here and switch over to the main net or another test net and do more of a real deploy now that we're confident in our localhost behavior. So this is a much faster way to be able to quickly go through. And hopefully that helps you, you know, get a good development process for your debugging. Thanks.